Isn't the only famous inmate to be housed there. We had Sam Bankman-Fried there, R. Kelly, Ghislaine Maxwell. They were all inmates there. Sean Combs is being kept away from the general inmate population. You say his fame makes him a target.
Yeah, sure. And not necessarily at the MDC only. I mean,
anywhere.
Yes, in my humble estimation, his life, his safety is in jeopardy in any correctional lockup right now. If it is true, as reported, that he is housed in the special housing unit, it's important to note that the special housing unit is a lockdown, 24-hour lockdown unit. The MDC Brooklyn is a high-rise. The vast majority of the floors are general population floors. But the special housing unit is a 24-hour lockdown facility. So this is for Mr. Combs' protection. His incredible worldwide celebrity combined with the allegations, the charges now, and indictment, of course, of acts of violence against women make him a very attractive target.
All
so
right.
obviously they need to safeguard him.
This is a man accustomed to the very finest. He was arrested at the Park Hyatt Hotel in New York City, known for its luxury suites and exceptional food and wine, where one-bedroom suites start at $3,000 a night. He was probably staying in something larger. What is life like for him now at the MDC?
I would say 100% total culture shock. The MDC is, I've used the word austere a lot, but it is. It's austere, it's strict, it's impersonal, it's cold, and it is a very tough place to be detained.
Diddy will spend the next 6 months at the Metropolitan Detention Center MDC in Brooklyn, New York. Currently, Diddy's trial is scheduled for May 5th, 2025, and it looks like Diddy is having a tough time. He has been placed in solitary confinement and is being kept away from Jen because of threats on his life. Allegedly, the people that Diddy used to blackmail are coming after him now, and Jen isn't safe enough for him to further complicate things. Allegations of child abuse don't exactly make you famous in prison. Pedophiles are often killed in the first 6 months of their sentence, and that's what Diddy is afraid of.
Tasha and Steve, for the first time in his life, Sean Diddy Combs has spent a week behind bars. He's here inside MDC, where he's been since his arrest on Monday night on federal sex trafficking and other charges, to all of which he's pleaded not guilty. There's no VIP section, there is no concierge, only con men, killers, and kingpins. MDC is so bad, federal judges have questioned the harsh conditions for those here awaiting trial. So bad, I was here 2 years ago during a cold spell, reporting on detainees with no heat, pounding on windows for help. There was even a congressional inquiry. But take the word of a former inmate I spoke with who goes by Esco.
It's terrible. The food is terrible. Of course, the inmates are terrible. The guards are terrible. The conditions are terrible. It's just terrible.
The inmates that you're surrounded around, just in general, a lot of them are brought up on pretty heavy federal indictments, right? So just in terms of the atmosphere there, it's just certainly one that no one wants to be in.
Combs was placed in a special housing unit and on suicide watch, the standard protocol for high-profile celebrity detainees. The disgraced mogul was denied bail by 2 separate judges. His attorney, Mark Agnifilo, asked the court to transfer him to the federal detention section at the Essex County Jail, but the judge deferred to the Bureau of Prisons. Federal trial attorney Philip Hamilton says lockdown can mean a lot less time to prepare your defense.
In terms of fighting their case, it just makes it all the more difficult, because now in terms of you being able to communicate with your attorney, you are at the realms of just what's going on with respect to the facility. Is it on lockdown? Is the facility letting visitors in?
Detainees on suicide watch wear tearaway paper hospital-style garments and rubber shower shoes. The isolation may be the worst part for Combs. It's being done for his protection in the violence-prone facility. He will have no bunkie.
He's probably not going to have any contact with any other inmates. So for him, it's going to be a little different than for a person like me, where I will go in, I will go through process and intake, and then they'll assign me a cell, and I'll have a bunkie or a cellmate, and I'll be in population.
For him to be able to get out at this point, it just doesn't look good.
Details of Diddy's life behind bars have come out, and sources close to the situation say that Diddy is near his breaking point. So far, Diddy hasn't been able to make a single friend and spends almost 23 hours a day in solitary. Diddy has been caught trying to bribe inmates into letting him use their phone privileges. But after prosecutors caught on Diddy had to stop, allegedly Diddy was calling victims and trying to interfere with witnesses.
His foreseeable time behind bars look like. He reportedly only gets 1 hour daily of recreation and 3 showers a week. He served breakfast, lunch, and dinner that is delivered to his cell. But instead of extravagant meals he was once accustomed to, he can expect foods like egg noodles, cereal, chili, peas, and if needed, there are reportedly vegetarian options as well. But if those foods don't work, MDC Brooklyn's commissary list has a list of additional foods and snack items, including a 6-pack of Hershey bars for $7.05, peanut butter for a little more than $3, stuffed chicken with rice for $5.75, plus more options. Diddy was once a staple at New York's biggest fashion event of the year, the Met Gala, and a frequenter of fashion weeks across the globe. Now will be forced to wear clothes not from haute couture, but instead a switch up to essentially sweats. For extra clothes, he can purchase a sweatshirt for a little more than $16, New Balance sneakers for about $55, boxer briefs for a little more than $6, plus a bath towel and washcloth set for about $12. And while confined to a cell for 23 hours a day, which is a huge difference from throwing now infamous parties, to pass the time, Diddy can purchase an MP3 player for a little under $90. But according to reports, he has a spending limit of $160, a huge downgrade from the millions he was seemingly spending prior to his arrest.
Former inmate Larry Levine, who has actually stayed in the Metropolitan Detention Center, says that Diddy's life is in danger. Several inmates are looking to target Diddy, and it's only a matter of time before an accident happens. Diddy is used to 5-star hotels, and right now psychologically he is at his lowest. There have even been eyewitness reports that say Diddy has lost a significant amount of weight and appears to be depressed.
So breaking news right now, Larry, I am just getting word. People magazine says it's got a source on the inside that tells them that P. Diddy's on suicide watch tonight. Do your sources confer the same information? Are they saying it was possible?
Hey, real quickly, all that commissary stuff, he's not getting any of that because people in the SHU have an abbreviated list. So he's out of luck. No stake for him. Yeah, he is on suicide watch. This guy thought he would have went home. All of a sudden, he didn't get bond. Remember, the first night that he was there, he was like an overnight guest. When they called his bond hearing, now they checked him into the system, and reality has hit him. And I understand that he has a shrink coming by his cell to see him several times a day. And now there's talk about putting him in, it's like a bubble. It's like a cell that has like a plexiglass wall in it where they have inmates watching you. That's actually their job, to keep an eye on the inmates that are on suicide watch. Another error that I guess some warden told you this. There are sentenced inmates there. They're called cadre inmates. They don't have to be white collar inmates, but they're doing maintenance on the building. And the problem why there's a lot of violence there, they have housing units. And they're mixing bank robbers, drug dealers, rapists with white collar people. And this is why Diddy, he can't go into a regular housing unit because somebody will take him out for sure. Somebody's gonna get a lot of street credibility out of this. People that are doing substantial time that know they're never getting out, they'll just kill a guy, no questions asked.
You think that they'd suck up to him because he's got a lot of money, and if he ever does get the commissary options, he would be able to help them.
Some people do because
I got to wrap it real quick.
Okay, some people do think that Diddy can help them, but this guy's going to be locked up forever. His case will probably take at least 3 years to litigate. He'll stay at MDC. There's rumors that he wants to go to Essex County Jail in New Jersey because he doesn't like MDC. He's a Marshals inmate. There's no way they're going to transfer him back and forth, I don't know, several times a week, 6 Marshals to do it.
Jersey.
He's out of luck.
According to a report from the Daily Mail, that's why Diddy had a breakdown. A person close to him apparently said, quote, spending the holidays behind bars was a nightmare for him. If we're to believe all this, Diddy had a meltdown in his cell and begged the guards to take him to the hospital for observation, but they refused. This same friend or person told the Daily Mail, quote, he eventually managed to calm himself down with the meditation technique he's been using while he's been behind bars. It took him a few hours of deep breathing and focusing to get out of the bad space he was in, but he finally managed it. This isn't the first time Diddy's mental health has come into question while he's been at MDC. When he first arrived, he was on suicide watch, which the U.S. Department of Justice National Institute of Corrections describes as supervisory precautions taken for suicidal inmates that require frequent observation. Diddy's suicide watch was only temporary, though. He was housed in a special protective unit of the jail after that for the first few weeks of his stay. But Diddy right now is in Gen Pop, meaning general population, the place where majority of the inmates stay. And that's where he apparently had this meltdown.
The nature of the information that Diddy might reveal also makes him a target. Just like Epstein, several people who personally know Diddy have said that Diddy doesn't have what it takes to last behind bars. And his recent meltdown is proof of that. Diddy was allegedly crying and yelling, asking guards to let him out. Diddy has only been in custody for a few months now, and he's already ready to give up.
Yeah, that makes sense. But you knowing Diddy personally, do you think it's possible he might take his life?
It takes a certain individual to prepare itself to do a lot of years in jail. From the lifestyle that he had, I'm not saying that he can't. I just don't see him able to do time behind bars. Maybe if he'd be in a camp type situation, that's a possibility. But based on the lifestyle and what he'd done and what he's accomplished, if he had to go behind those bars for a lot of years, I think that he may commit suicide. He'd do an Epstein.
Why do you think he didn't pull a Russell Simmons and leave the country?
They was watching him, bro. They was watching him. And then I think that he had to turn over his passport. Even if you own your own private jet, they have a system up there whereas that they supposed to check your passport and anything that you need to fly as if you were flying commercial. He's suffering the consequence, and I don't feel bad for him at all. Because people was trying to talk to him. People was trying to tell him. You couldn't pull him by the coat and let him know anything. You understand? They messed up the game, brother. When he put that shit out with them, money, power, respect, it ain't never been like that. It ain't never been like that. You got your respect in the street that gave you your power, that brought you your money. Totally different thing. He let that money, power, and respect go to his head, but he had it ass backwards. So do I care what happened? Nah. He got enough money to buy his way out of this. So we think.
So when you look at that video of him pacing around and he's looking worried, and you knowing him, do you think it's possible that he might commit suicide?
When you're a narcissist, there's always a possibility because you're suffering. But I don't think that he can see himself in a cage. I don't think he can see himself behind those bars in those type of situations. It's too many real dudes that dislike him. But then again, there's a lot of real dudes that need help. And him being behind bars, he could probably help him.
Diddy's lawyers have requested for Diddy to be moved to a different correctional facility, since Diddy isn't comfortable here. But the judge has denied their request. Diddy's situation is worsening day by day, And even if another inmate doesn't kill Diddy, there's a good chance that Diddy might do something. To harm himself, Gene Deal says that he lived with Diddy for years, and he knows what kind of person Diddy is. Diddy has always lived a life of luxury, and he isn't going to last long in prison.
What do you think about that counter argument? Because his team has said we're going to put together the proposed bail package, a $50 million bond, co-signed by him, his mom, his sister, the mother of his oldest daughter, and his 3 adult sons. It's going to be secured by the equity in his property in Miami, Florida. Home detention, his passport will be surrendered. The government said that's insufficient. They said, look at the charges, look at the weight of the evidence that I just mentioned. They said they have allegations that he and his associates were trying to tamper with witness testimony last year so that they wouldn't cooperate with the government. What do you take away about who has the stronger argument in terms of bail?
Well, I think his counsel has done the best they possibly can. I think bringing him there voluntarily is very smart, starts them out on the right foot. But I think the last thing that you just mentioned, the interfering with witnesses.
That's the allegation, yeah.
Yeah, if that's true, or I should say, if there's real indicia that happened, I think that might tip the scales in favor of not letting him out pending trial, because I think, and you know this, I think judges take an extraordinarily dim view of that. And that might be the factor that tips the scale against him. But I think as far as a tactic, I think it was very smart to do what they did and to say, look, you know, he's here. You didn't have to track him down. He's got a real defense here. He's doing everything right, at least right now. I'm not sure it's going to be
Diddy's team has prepared a $50 million bail package, and according to court documents, is planning to hand over the entire family's passports. Diddy is even offering his Miami mansion if it means he can get bail. The mansion, valued at approximately $48 million, serves as collateral to secure his release from custody. Despite the millions that Diddy is ready to give away, Judge Ain Submanin has denied his bail, and until further notice, Diddy is not leaving.
For years, P. Diddy's gotten a hall pass. He's actually created his own kingdom where he makes his own rules, and you got to follow his rules or you get penalized. And guess what, Laura? He's now in a federal penitentiary, and for the first time in his life, he's facing his own fate at the hands of somebody else. And I will tell you, Laura, I've done federal cases, that's not the place you want to be in federal court. 90% of federal criminal indictments brought down are pled out, right? A plea deal is brought. And of the only 10% left, 90% of those defendants that go to trial, they lose. So he is looking at a daunting uphill battle to fight these horrible charges.
Now, Brian, one of the DHS agents involved in this raid on his Miami mansion described what he saw inside the house, saying that, in my opinion, he's as bad as Epstein. These women are young, either barely legal or barely illegal. Brian, this sounds like he was a monster.
Yeah, Laura, I will tell you that this indictment was very detailed, by the way, too. Your viewers should know there were over 300 subpoenas served, over 50 witnesses interviewed. Why is that important? Because the federal prosecutors aren't going to be leveling an indictment like this unless they have ammunition and they have cause to bring it. And the core issue at this case, which the feds have to prove, which it's looking like they can, is that P. Diddy essentially controlled these women, that he threatened them with stopping the money that he was paying them, that he spiked their drinks with drugs. That's been alleged in the indictment. And that he basically told them, I'm going to ruin your life unless you engage in these freak offs. And that's really what the prosecutors got to prove. And if you've got some victims coming forward to talk about that, you've got financial records that prove that, travel itinerary that proves that, P. Diddy has very little defense. And I got to tell you, Laura, if this guy wants to fight these charges, he's going to have to step up and walk into a courtroom and talk about it. If he doesn't testify in this case, he is dead on arrival.
Well, who else is on these tapes? I mean, will the tapes ever see the light of day? I mean, that's what everybody's talking about. Who else is there? It's like with the Epstein, his pleasure island. Who else? Who went? Who was there? What's the manifest? But Brian, chances 1 being least likely, 10 being most likely. Will we learn of other celebrities that were at these freak-offs?
Yeah, I think you've got an 8 or a 9 for a likelihood you're going to hear about it. Why? Because there are going to be more indictments coming down, Laura. That's an important point here, because he's being charged with racketeering and conspiracy. You're going to have, well, let's start on the inner circle. You're going to have former bodyguards. You're going to possibly have former musicians that he was with. You've got personal assistants that are going to be, they're already talking about this. Some of those are likely to be charged. And then guess what? If you've got some music moguls that are sending women over to these alleged freak-offs, then you've got some top people that are going to start crumbling too, because they're all part of what's called this criminal enterprise.